Hello friend and welcome back once again to Grigsby's War in the East. Let's take a look at the last turn. Actually we got less units and Axis got more or less, I suppose, but the Axis is now 2.87. Their amount of things is really low. We actually did lose quite a bit of men too. Things are pretty rough at that. Let's just go again straight through the air directives, and we'll take a little peek. I'll not be playing all that long for now. Maybe it's like 10-15 minutes, but just want to see what's up and take this turn for a swing. From January, the German penalties will start decreasing a bit, so they will not be as weak as they were before. It's nice actually that this held. Let's see actually if I can even get my units through here. I will actually take these guys off the line, like, that's really no good. Let's start here. What do we have? Romanian infantry division, which couldn't do anything. It's weird that they're shattered, though. Oh, wow. There is a port? At Osipenko. Okay, so... poop. Alright, I guess I will have to rout them then. It's a bit unfortunate that way. I mean, they will lose so much that... Like, these guys lost, like, everybody in that attack. Down here and more. So, despite it still being an effective combat unit technically, like this, it has no men. Out of the Romanian rifle squads, they lost all of them, and they even lost more pioneer squads. They literally lost everything, which they'll probably find hard to replace. Of course, I cannot see manpower pool for, you know, non-German, but I'm sure that it's not pretty. Germans lost 83,000 last turn too. We lost a little bit more. But that is actually a pretty decent ratio. Right, well... Let's attack with all of these. They're all in supply of the armies, yeah. And again, pretty much almost all of them routed. And I might even just... No, soft attack would not cut it here. Let's move you. But I think this should be fine. Combat value 6. Wernerkampf, which is actually pretty good. Yannicka took over. Those are just both Romanians. They lost 5,000 this time, so some of that got out. Fair enough. Now, it's a pretty high defensive CV here. Let's at least get some units that actually can attack on that. And I will put something in there too, this unready... let's see, you have less movement, so let's move you in there and get all of these three to do a soft attack here. Should be enough. Combat value 3. This time they lost only 800. but at least 32 tanks as well. Let's take a look at the details here. Mostly R2s, all of the R2s. Then what did they not lose in terms of combat units? Because there are like 40 tanks unaccounted for. Or 40 vehicles at least. I don't see them. So I wonder what it is, but either way, those were some pretty decent attacks. I barely got any men in any of these, which kind of makes sense, but that's okay. I'm currently also, you know, building up my, let's just say, defenses here. I have, if you move up now, that will also take that. Probably put these in their staff cars, something along those lines. I guess now is the time to trash through them. Whee! It's also a lot of replacement. I'm sure as a unit they do not like it. Obviously I cannot see anything from it, so I don't know how bad it is for them, but I cannot imagine it to be enjoyable. Let's see if I take this hex. I do. Now this encircles the 2nd Mountain Division at Melitopol. If I go in here, which will be troublesome, I think, for the unit. Going down does give me certain benefits. Already seems like the Germans are indeed going for a siege here at the moment. Let's get those buddies out of there. Nice enemy loss of planes at the same time. I do like these combat odds, combat results. We're already looking at very high Axis losses, but they are mostly in Axis allies. The Axis allies look terrible, but the good thing about the Axis allies losing a lot of units is that the Germans don't have enough individual units to hold a coherent front line, especially at this moment. They need the Axis allies. As you can see here, my opponent is currently unable to get units into the south in a good and cohesive fashion, meaning he's in trouble. I also don't think he can actually get those guys out. It's a shame I cannot get into this hex because I actually don't want them moving there. Not even you can go. I don't think they'll be attacking, but there are 3 Romanian infantry divisions in there. I don't want them going up. Well, actually, I don't think they will. They can go 1 hex and they'll lose the port, so they'll likely stay on the port, and I guess maybe they can transport 1 or 2 out. I guess they would do that. Whoop. I cannot imagine how much grief all this replacement causes them. But these tanks have even more movement. Each move costs 7, and interesting indeed. I would say retaking Poltava. The 262nd seems like an obvious target here, given the movement I can do. Swing around them. And cut off some German units. It's tricky coming from this side, but I can probably blow away both of these. Yeah. And that will have me surround the 262nd. These guys are unable to do any kind of combat. Almost the entire unit is gone now. 4,000 men. That's really weak. Alright, so I will keep those guys encircled. Now, I would need to create... The 183rd is definitely the most powerful infantry they currently have. And... got another 2 guards here. Not bad. I can only get the 6th guards to bear on this. But I need more strength even to push them back. Because this certainly ain't gonna cut it. I could try and attack like that. You can do it. Okay, both are close enough. Let's take some good support units here. Some motorcycle regiments. Actually has quite a few men. And I think doing that now is pretty decent. Only lost a few men. They're only at 7,000. I'm still having trouble moving through here, but it does quite effectively isolate the 3rd Romanian Infantry and the 262nd Infantry Division here. I don't know how many units they still have in there, but it looks to me to be quite a juicy movement. Now, another thing that looks to be pretty juicy, but I cannot imagine it to be empty, is Dnipro. But I think at least I'll be cutting the rail here. Like this. And then let's see. Yeah, they do have a unit there. But it does cut the rail, and that also once again means that these guys here will be cut off. Another interesting thing that, you know, technically I could be developing here is something like an encirclement of the remainder of those German troops. I don't think they like this. Not at all. So that will be bad for them too. Obviously, yeah, let's get into those woods that will help them a bit with defense. 2.1, 1.8. No clue what is there. But this is effectively the Dnieper River over here. Can't see it very well, but the line is here. So the cavalry has reached the Dnieper. I think my opponent here has a serious problem. One other thing that I could do... No, you cannot go down any further. These guys are also unready. Let's actually go back and work on that line. How does the line look now? The rail here. That means that all this rail line is now fixed up. That's good. Let's go back here, fix it up. And now I can also get a depot here. And the one at Mariupol should be working again as well, like that. That's very useful, trying to get to Pologi here. I can see myself actually cutting off the 132nd Infantry Division too. If I do this and I do a heavy attack, that's 4. If I do a soft attack, it's 3.4. So let's do the heavy attack here. German units can barely do anything at this point, it seems like. Which seems I can penetrate their lines even more. It's tricky because this is a combat delay hex now. Well, do I... Seems like I don't have any motorized unit that can take advantage, but... I can keep pressuring them. And now this center hex, in a sense, is kind of empty. Doesn't seem to matter a whole lot, but if I encircling these guys seems to be nigh impossible with the units that I have around here, which is because these two. Now I could route them out of that pocket, but not quite sure whether I wouldn't want them to surrender instead. I have a good opportunity for that, so not necessarily sure how useful that is. Now, another difficulty is that I don't have another unit to attack these. It would be a hard attack indeed. And the only thing I can give it is a machine gun battalion to beef it up slightly. I can try. It's a pretty hard attack though. Okay, I mean, I did pass it, but it wasn't spectacular. I'm quite sure that this entire area is now empty. I would think this unit will have some serious trouble getting out, especially if I move the cavalry also to the other side. It's kind of zone of control locked. It can attack, but then it will likely not be able to move very much at that point either way. So I'm assuming that would be a problem for the unit. This is maybe not a good idea, but we'll see what happens here. Can you cross? No. That's a damn bloody shame. But I will hope to be able to defend these. 9th Army. 9th Army. They're both mountain units, so they also cannot get any support units, sadly. I also have the tank division, but it also cannot get there. How about the cavalry? No. They just can't, but I'll say the Germans, of course, have quite a bit of infantry down there. And I would think they can protect the Crimea, I suppose. But I'll be there very soon, so that will probably be problematic for them. Now, let's continue taking territory over like this. And I'll be swinging south to, I guess, try and cut them off. If I, depending on how things go, if I can take Feodosia, they have 2 ports here. And looking at the interdiction levels, you can see that I have interdiction over all of them just from the port itself. And that means that both Yalta and Yevpatoria can't provide the Germans with supplies very well. I don't know how much supplies they are getting there, but cannot imagine it to be a very great enterprise for them. I guess there is some benefit to taking Fedorovka, but not so sure at the moment. Okay, I kind of need to get something in here, because basically I can move you here, and I guess that way try to cut them off, unless I can move these guys in there, but it doesn't seem to be the case, sadly. Let's move. This seems to be a more powerful unit as well. Yeah, in some areas very clearly my my assault force is getting quite weak now, so I have to be careful. Like, I need a lot of forces even just to attack that, and it wasn't a very powerful force. Either way, let's get into cavalry, which will get routed, don't get me wrong, but at the very least they'll be cut off for a turn, and I guess thus they'll become weaker. I would imagine him to want to, you know, try and get away from this as well. I don't see how trying to hold anything here is going to be a great thing to do. They will withdraw. Man, I guess they will never get out. 0 supplies, huh? Alright. I'm gonna take a break. Losses so far for the Axis, 74,000. For me at 66. It's looking quite well. I got already more guns than they did. If we're looking at this kind of stuff, basically from the previous turn, victory points is going down. Total men, I'm still slightly above the Germans because it got down a little bit more, and I'd wager that it will continue to go down for them and up for me. Total guns, total AFVs, kind of stagnant for me, but at least for my opponent it's dropping. Gun losses, AFV losses. 183 last turn. Alright, well, I made a start to the turn, I guess. It's interesting indeed like this. basically unhinged their almost entire southern flank. And the rest of the front is also becoming a bit of a struggle, it seems like. My opponent has been busy attacking. Up here, I do dare say that there's a reason why I reinforce this area. Or I'm trying to reinforce this area, because indeed some of those positions, things are getting a bit rough. 3 infantry divisions here against this. The odds at that point are not great for me, because I'm also quite weak in those exposed areas. And it tends to result in quite bad losses for me. This is... I lost 88 tanks, but I did hold. Apparently. Heavy losses from my opponent too, comparatively. And... yeah, their cavalry routed. And there too. Naturally, the only good thing that's happening there is my opponent actually, his not infantry, his ammunition is kind of running out, maybe. Seems like he's taking actual troops away from this line now. Seems like he's caught on to this stuff. Holy smokes. Alright, it's just one last thing that I have to do here. I know this seems like a terrible idea. Ooh, almost nothing, huh? $17. It's the last turn. I have almost 3-to-1 odds. The 42nd Army apparently cannot provide with a lot of support units. Neither do these. AA battalions don't really help that much. But 0.3, let's see, especially regiments, 23 only. You have tank regiments, and I guess you guys will also get full strength AA battalions from 522 to 526. Yeah, that... okay, I also have a lot in reserve. Okay, here we go. No additional units. Wow. Talking about a Pyrrhic victory. Losses over 10-to-1. They decimated the Stuk battalion. Holy smokes. But in a sense it's the first victory up in the north, and now let's get 3 of the most powerful units in there as I can find them. which that's a defense of 20. You're at 7, eh? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get several of these powerful units forward and also have them on reserve. I'm gonna switch them up in terms of army and such. But wow. I mean, it wasn't that much of a deal for Totenkopf, and they also have multiple infantry divisions out here as well. So I wouldn't say it was all that great. It's also the only area where I might potentially attack. Right, like I said, I'm taking a break. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all afterwards. Alright, I'm back here. So let's continue. I have the Caucasus front, and because of that I can well, let's also put some units here under the 9th Army, because now I can, and put them under the Caucasus front. Bam, bam, bam. Of course I have the 8th Army units over here. It's a bit of a mess. I can move them here. Now, I actually think I can build a depot here at this point. Why not? The rail is also working. I'm actually interested to see whether it can get there. And I will also get the tank division over here. That way. So we'll see how good this counteroffensive is going to be. Definitely not trying to take on any of those units. I'm thoroughly trapped. Okay, so let's put you under the Caucasus front. And Caucasus front is Georgi Gulik. Let's switch him up here. Taking a look at admin. I actually don't like that Georgi Zhukov is under Moscow defense zone. I'm actually gonna switch that up. Like that makes no sense. This guy, he has a 6.54, 3.5. That's okay. Alright. So there is that. Caucasus front currently at Krasnodar. Let's take a look here. And get the 5th Army under the Caucasus front. 2. It will be removed turn 65, but that's not a problem. 36 out of 72. I'll put the 12th Army under the Caucasus front. That puts them at 56. And then technically there will be a few more units that I can put under it. Basically all of these. Caucasus, Caucasus. Caucasus. Caucasus, and then everything in here under Caucasus 2. Most like 66. 68. 70. 72. Well, that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4 units in a brigade. Not under it. That's fine. The good thing is it means that the southern front now can take on a whole lot more. Basically over here. And I can change up the southwestern front. Central front can take on a whole lot more too. So they'll be looking good. Well, first of all, 5th Army. Should probably drop then get you. Then we have 12th Army. Also having 20. You should be under second shock. Max Writer is not that bad. But there are 2 units here that should be under 44th Army from second shock. At the very least. And then they should be on their southern front. And I could take on 2 more units. You're part of 5th Army too. Finally, that motorized brigade is routed. And I actually don't think they have anything in there. They do. Well, let's put you on their second shock army. And you on their second shock army. Let's see what they got. A very powerful infantry division. Huh. And these guys are somewhat weak. I'm more curious to see how much I can take here. If I could take all those hexes, that'd be great. You know, if I put you under the 44th, then you can take 400. I cannot build let's see, tank, rifle, yeah, only rifle divisions, not rifle corps yet. I have too many of those. Actually, I have too many artillery at any rate. You should probably just go to Pologi and probably stay there for a bit. Alright, that's the second shock. Now, southern front. We'll move into Stalino. I'll have 44th get under the southern front. Let's see what I can do here. They're encircled, they will break out. The question is, do I want to try and route this unit? I think probably it's for the better if I just do. I still took heavy losses comparatively. So that still kind of sucked, but at least they lost 33 guns, which is, I guess, also somewhat problematic for them. Let's see if I can straighten out my line a bit. And I'll take the 11th Guards and the 140th, and they will actually stop attacking. Actually, there are multiple units out here of which I feel like attacking is probably not going to be the best solution here. Two units of 18th Army. And another unit here. No, let's switch that up. So let's make sure you're part of 44th, 44th, and 44th. Operate from here, and then I actually need them to take away 3 units. 1. 2. 3. At this point, you can be under the southern front. And southern front is at 67. They also have an infantry in there. If I certainly will move these back. They have no business doing anything there, being unready. And I mean, let's take Fedorovka, I guess. Didn't expect it to be a depot or anything, but I'll also move back the mechanized and put it on refit under the southern front, because I currently have you, and you all at 20. Which means that I can only take one unit. Well, okay. There we are. Takes some 5 to move into something like that, huh? Well, let's move out the cavalry. And just put it under the southern front. I have the 65th, which is also unready. Let's actually just divide them like this. My units here are quite weak, so I also cannot overcommit too much, which I already feel like I likely will have done here, but we'll see. Did push them back down here quite a bit. This is all reconquered territory, so I think I'm actually gonna route these still. Oh, ah, shit. What? Come on. What's wrong with the game? Fuck you. Okay, well, let's start here. So the southwestern front is currently here with 17. They're at 15. They actually have some units there, which is no good. 2 of them, in fact. I also have the 40th Army here with 12. Let's start with putting you onto the 6th. You onto the 6th. And you. Moving in here is not too useful. Well, let's just see. Off of the train, off of the train, off of the train. They all need to refit though. At least for a turn, because they're all at 91, you're at 66 and 75, so they could get a few more units. The 40th Army will go under the Southwestern Front. That's 14. 40th. 20. There we go. There we go. That's another 3,000. Only the Romanians were at this point fighting. Interesting. So I'm not sure what happened there. They also got the 262nd Infantry Division. Somehow that unit just yeah, I guess as the routed unit, it got out. Does it show all the German units besides? I guess kind of don't. I really wonder what this is. Ground, air, on retreat, maybe. Not sure. But what I do know is that if my losses are equal to German losses, that serves me just fine. That is ultimately excellent, even if it's Axis allies again. Let's move into Pershipino. And I mean, we already liberated Poltava. Those guys cannot move, but that's 6th Army. And 40th Army. Cannot get anything in there except the 215th mechanized, technically. Infantry, light, and a mountain corps. Yeah, it doesn't really look like I can attack it, indeed. Except if I also use this cavalry corps. This is maybe worth trying. That would be quite risky. I mean, you're under 18th Army and not even close enough. Now you are. I would have to put... them under 18th Army too. Which is fair enough, but then I do need to... get another unit from 18th Army out, which is, I guess, the 65th Rifle. I'll put under Stavka completely, because I kind of want to get it out entirely, indeed. Alright, well, that doesn't help much, but let's actually see what they do here. Eric Brandenburger, nice. He's a good general. They didn't lose a whole lot, but I did kill the general. And they still lost 19 guns, so I'm fine with that. It's a shame I cannot see like any kind of replacement or whatever, because also the HQ will have moved or at least retreated here. Oh, he has another Romanian infantry division, which is actually in decent combat shape there, huh? Very well. Again, these units are likely not going to receive a whole lot of supply, as there will have to be truck supply at least from here. So I cannot imagine it to be great for these guys to be out there. But we'll see though. Actually, let's create a fortified hex there, because that way I can actually move ahead to 406th whenever I see fit. I might or might not do that just yet. I actually feel like it's probably better to just try and get some defenses going here. Now, I will take a look as to which areas have lower fort levels, and I'll put these units out there to dig. Like here. Along these lines, and as long as I have the actual fort unit, I don't need infantry on it. indeed. I think it's a fine use of the units around here. And to make sure that I have level 3 fortifications all around, you can actually stay there. At least on this line, because I actually feel like I don't really want to commit more forces to my winter offensive. But once they've all gotten level 3 defenses, I suppose they could go and work on, say, a forward defensive line, maybe. Depending on how things go, but I don't want to commit all my units immediately, and they will need quite a bit of time to regain combat strength points. I will need that for the summer, when my opponent is going to, say, invade again. Okay, 40th Army, they're all refitting. 6th, 40th, you will take another army. This 53rd Army is rather strange, it's currently under Stavka. It's rather somewhat of a reserve army. Southwestern Front is going to take this. They can actually take 2 more units. And that's going to be you. And you. I still cannot move around this unit. I will have to attack it. Not with either of these, though. Let's see if I can get some support units still. Ooh. There's a first guards rifle, which I'd actually rather have under the 3rd. And then I'll put you under the 10th. No. Put you under the 10th. Yes. I don't like this attack much, we'll see though. They did retreat. Losses are not too terrible on my part. It's 2 on 1, that's okay. 2 okay is fine. 2 on 1 is fine. $400 men lost, pushing them beneath 13,000. That's good enough. Let's move in here. Seems... Which unit did I attack just now? 183rd. The 183rd is still at good combat strength. 7-7. I cannot move into either of those hexes without getting into serious trouble because it is one rifle division. Let's move back the cavalry, put it under southwestern front. Both of these divisions are weak, but can't do anything with it currently. Why are you guys on refit? There's no capabilities of doing anything there. We have now the southwestern front. A few too many units. Well, it doesn't actually have too many units. It could take 4 more. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay. You know what? I'll get them out of there. Oh, actually, now it does have defense. Huh. Interesting. I don't know how much armor 2nd Panzer has at this point, but I'm gonna attack him. Not with you. There are selectively few units that can attack it, but what are you part of? Not 10th Army, you're part of 4th Shock. Let's put them on the 10th Army. Means you're going to be part of 4th Shock. Only 6 tanks there, but that's fine. No other tanks entered the battle, but I guess they were all behind the rear or something. He didn't lose anymore, even though they didn't join the battle. They must have been all damaged already. But whatever. The 309th should move to the rear. let's put it under Central Front. Central Front currently has 40. Okay, so the inclusion of the Caucasus Front has allowed me to get pretty much all the units here, at least under an army. In a certain way. 1.8. We'll have to retreat here too, at least probably along this line, and then here follow along this. That's probably better than anything else currently. I also don't know how powerful these are, but it is probably worth taking a look. 5. I can't take a 5 at this point. That's just straight up how it's gonna be, so... I only lost 61 tanks. Okay. Maybe that was a bad idea. The tank should probably go to the rear. Cannot get you into Sumi. So you should probably just refit there. I'll fix it up though, so I'm not too worried, but I'm gonna get you into Mirgorod. No. Let's get you into Mirgorod and put them under the 10th Army. Refit a few more units along the line. Okay. I don't have a particularly straight line or anything, but that's okay. I don't want to go too far with these units, so they will likely get attacked back as well. Or were you unready? No, you're ready. Okay. I do have you here. Let's pretend I can make a solid line at this point. Which I kind of can't. It's a pretty big defense. Let's see. I'm actually not allowed to put more units in there. Well, what I'm gonna do is actually pull you out. Huh. "21st Army, eh?" There's no way these guys can do anything. Let's have them refit. That does open up a spot in 6th Army, but I need you guys to get to Stavka too. Okay. 6th Army then technically has 2 extra spots, like Southwestern Front at that point. I actually can attack them. Let's put this cavalry corps under 21st Army. This mechanized kinda needs to be taken out either way. Let's see what it does. A 5. Maybe. They still have 1 too many. That means I'm gonna put you under Stavka as well, or yeah. Okay. Oh, 70, huh? Well. I almost got it, I guess. I'm actually gonna keep it like that for now. And you should be under the central front. Romney is the closest depot currently. And let's do that. And I'll probably try to get new units onto these lines. Again, my opponent is bringing in more armor. Yeah, I don't think... No, crap. If I'm lucky, my opponent doesn't see it, but he likely will. Okay. At the very least, I want to do that. Let's get the cavalry corps out there, which is... not the very best, but... who knows? How is the Brienne's front anyway? 66. Okay, so they're fine. Brienne's front. Brienne's front. Put you under the 13th Army. Alright, the Italians shouldn't be on the front line like that, I think. Well, probably my opponent thought they'd be pretty reasonable, and I guess this is a 5-5, but... they're still 3-1 losses, so... that's fine, I suppose. As I said before, I think the best way to indeed get at the Germans here is to deplete the Axis allied countries, which I did mostly, and then they cannot take positions on quiet sectors, and the Germans are overextended at that point. Especially during the winter here. Things will be interesting around here. These guys are fairly weak, especially these. That's at least how it looks like. $79 tanks. Okay, wow. That is actually quite remarkable. In their retreat, I guess they left all of them. All Panzer 3Js. The Germans really should not be in this position, where they have their tanks exposed, which again, I guess, is now finally showing off its fruits. As I will move into... Oh, I don't want to say exploit this gap. I actually don't think I can take down 12th Panzer immediately. But... doing an immediate another deliberate. They already are down to say 40 tanks. The thing is that if I move these, I don't actually have that much infantry here anymore to follow up on attacks. Okay. Push them back. And at that point, I would have to move in there with 3 tank divisions, which are probably going to be quite weak on the defense. But 2-2-1, you're actually quite weak. Just get a few weak support units. Alright, they still retreated, lost 36 tanks. .38 TEs this time. Tanks can be somewhat difficult to replace, so I do fancy that. They have 4.5 defensive CV. I'm certainly not beating those. I think I can do slightly better up here too. Or not. I guess the answer is no. Well, with you maybe. %, 11% TOE is not what I'm looking for. Huh. They actually did push them back. That's actually very nice, and it took Stux to boot. Pretty good. There's also heavy woods hex. So that'll make it hard for my opponent to, you know, take that. Okay, quite happy with that pushback. You know, can I actually get... I could get those 2 cavalries in there. I am actually... Oh, no, 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 no. Shit. Alright, I'll have to try and do it with just the 2. It's a bunch of poop. Damn it. Did still get them though. Nice. I'm actually very curious. Yeah, I cannot hold it. Naturally. These guys folded like paper toys, though. Certainly switching those guys up as well. I don't see my opponent attacking here, but I do think... My opponent is never going to attack there because he has only parts of infantry. Let's see. Got it. Again, it doesn't look like much. But it causes some disruption, and my opponent now has to push these guys back, move something in there, switch some stuff up. So ultimately, I think they'll be worth it too. I'm almost done with all my attacks, I think. Well, there's still some stuff to do around here. But I actually don't really like the way that looks. The defense is 16, which is actually quite high. I do think that moving forward through here would be interesting. This is starting to threaten this rail line, which I think is very important for all the troops around here. I'm not saying my opponent will retreat back, but let's see, 328. There's 3 infantry divisions there, so I don't necessarily already want to attack. My opponent is still, say, 100 kilometers from Moscow, which is also tricky. If I can at least get him to push back towards a Rzhev-Vyazma line, something like that, I'd be fine. I wouldn't be too worried about an attack on Moscow by that point. Could see myself setting up for an attack here against the 123rd. But those kind of attacks are ultimately not super important. So, right, I'm gonna take a little break. Thanks for watching for now, and I'll see you on the other side. Alright, back for the turn here. Let's go and take a look as to how far we potentially still want to take this. Obviously not really attacking into any of those. Can I even move in there? Not with these. Can't move in there apparently with almost anything. If I'm gonna have to move in there with only cavalry again, that's just not gonna be sufficient to hold this position. I don't really see myself doing that, but let's see, defense is now 8, 19, I think, 16. Sure, they could go into this hex. Let's just move. We're still at 323. It went to 15 defense now. So that's not exactly as high as it was before. Now, I can't hold the front line with unready cavalry. Or anything unready, really. What do I have here? At least one full strength unit. To hold it here. Let's put this lot into Zukinishki for refitting. Basically I have the 61st Army here without any additional stuff. It's certainly a weak sector. As I cannot put it under any front yet. It's basically the only part that's not under a front. This guy is actually quite good. 57th Army. So let's make sure he gets everything he needs. That defense is not amazing. Wasn't that the 16th Army? 24th, yeah. Here we go. Right, I will have to acknowledge that I can't attack everywhere. Of course. Again, I really need to get these units to be not under a command. Because I just straight up still don't have enough fronts. But yeah, the Transcaucasus front is the first thing that I'm gonna get. I will get some reserve armies pretty soon, which will help me quite a bit too. My units will still be under Stavka, but at least under an army under Stavka, which is better than nothing. I need to get all of these guys at least to a depot so I can refit them. No reason to necessarily stay on either of those axes, but the 184th is doing very poorly. Just like the 119th. But the 217th is kind of ready. Alright, that very clearly is... Three, five, huh? I have a sensation I'm gonna lose a lot of tanks. Yeah. I mean, I need to hold those hexes too. You are not doing super well. But let's put them there too, and I have the 221st mechanized. Let's put it out here in reserve, and then we'll see how that goes from there. Let's see if there's anything that's a bit weak. Apparently not. Let's just move you to Kalinin on the refit. You need to be on a refit. Refit. Actually, let's... yeah, I cannot send them away. I guess they're units that are too close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Might be that, yeah, German units are too close to the position. These are doing pretty poorly, so I'll put them on refit. They're at 56%. Let's do that. Let's get one of these tanks to move over here. And another one to move over to Bologu. Refit over there. I'm sure that if it wasn't winter, they might be a bit more powerful, but they will turn into not tank divisions at some point anyway. I think they change into tank brigades at some point. I'll have to see. I currently have 0 ski battalions, but I don't even have enough men to fill anything else. And what I do have is the ability to refit some of these rifle divisions. My opponent's not going to try and break through here, so might just as well refit them now while I have the chance, and while things are in reasonable order. I actually think this might be, might help me in an attack soon. 104th rifle also seems to be pretty reasonable. So let's switch the army to 56th. And do that. It's not even that bad of an attack power, but okay, judging by the status, I will actually move some units to go and refit from this line. They can then move back later on when they've gotten a bit more strength. Trying to get, again, all these guys at least above 10,000. So that will look a bit better. Yeah. I still need to put Zhukov under some army. But I actually took care of most armies, I think. To be completely honest, maybe it's a bit better if this 4th army is under Stavka, and we'll have the 61st be part of the Bryansk front. Given how this is Rokossovsky. Doesn't need that much more. How am I on Tula? These guys are kind of fine. Let's actually just allow them to gain combat prep points here. But then just not on refit. This part is certainly a bit weak. Here on the 13th. There we go. I think they're relatively fine. Again, I need to start making sure that my troops are in decent shape everywhere. As don't want these Germans to gain an advantage on me anywhere, really. I don't think I'm going to attack here this turn. I think I'll make sure that my troops will be marginally safe. I'm gonna put my best units into Kirov here. With the most men. They're at 14. I think they'll have a hard time breaking it. 266. I wonder what happens if I give him this weak tank brigade. 282. Well, maybe it helps a little. Then I do have to be a bit careful there. These are unready. They cannot support anything. Let's see if I put them on the train. Get them into Voronezh. Oh. I cannot even get the tanks in there. Okay, so I need to get you into Zukynishki, still on refit. How can they not go in here? Jesus. So now I need to keep them on the front line. I can put them in a reserve or a refit though, and maybe they'll still get some. It's a bit troubling though. Let's put you in there. Again, it still helps just a slight amount, but anything's better than nothing. I actually have these guys which are ready. There we go. Even on the Bryansk front, they still provide some defense, and that's fine. Bryansk front can luckily still take one. Or could put them under the 61st Army. Sweet. Taking Kirov. Kirov, not super important here, but I could then try to push in further here. Certainly cannot go in there. I don't have the troops for it. However, I'll build a depot at Gorbachevo, and I guess for the moment I'm putting those 2 units in as extra reserve units. Nothing else really. I don't have any reinforcements around here, so no. Except these as well. And they can just stay there doing nothing. I mean, they're at pretty much peak condition. All they need to do is gain combat prep points for the moment. And if needs be, I'll get them closer to the front. But I think for the moment they're okay. Didn't I have like a army in the back or something? No, I don't. I don't have any of those reserve armies yet. So let's also just keep them out there doing nothing. Oh, are you don't need a refit, but they do need both supplies and pretty much everything else. I'm not moving those units either. Supplies are still going quite poorly generally. Okay. What we have here is a bit of a problem, as these are quite powerful, but my opponent might not necessarily be interested in attacking given the current situation. Yeah. I'm super greedy. But got a nice result, and they actually had a lot of men. 18,000. Damn. These have to move to Bryansk. 511. They could be attacking into this sector or there. 334. I guess despite everything, I'm just gonna move you in here. That puts it up to 11, which is probably enough. Also, depending on whether my opponent feels like attacking here. I just want to rack up the German losses wherever I can. Like I said, getting equal losses between me and the Axis is pretty reasonable. Um, yeah. The only unfortunate thing is that if you look at their manpower pool, it's very high. So they actually have, you know, an additional 600k technically, whereas we only have an additional 203. Kind of have to be careful with that stuff, but we'll see. One of the other things that I think is pretty important, but it is actually total guns, for example. Keeping German guns low and our guns high means we get a firepower advantage. We can see that in map guns, especially as we have currently 1.5 gun, I guess, for each one they have. And getting map AFVs lower is also quite important, even though ours is quite low. Map men. It's a pretty big difference now. There's going to be a point where my opponent also can no longer get new units from all the other theaters, and I actually think he might be there already at that point. You guys are part of the 21st Army. I don't know if he's gonna attack this line. I don't think he necessarily did last time. He just moved in there. It might be that my opponent has had enough of losses, in which case I would be very pleased with that there. So any central front units in the rear? No. Not too happy with that. Since these units are just not gonna have any kind of combat power whatsoever, because they'll just have to take pain. Can put this division at corner top. That means I could put the 26th Tank Division in reserve and get the 210th Rifle here too. And I cannot move either of them. Currently, but there's nothing I can do with that. They're actually marginally fine here. Let's keep them here because there's a line of trees there, which I think it might be beneficial doing stuff there. can't fix up that rail, and I actually don't want to put this unit there. I technically do have this rail line there now, but I'm just gonna... Like, I'm a bit afraid they're gonna push up there, so... What I actually feel is probably a better idea in terms of rail supply is move you into Stalino and then move you to go and work on this rail line and then further down so I can reconnect this. If I do by some miracle reach the Dnieper River here like I did here, is there no way for me to see? I mean, I can see roads, but a better way to see rivers. That's this. I mean, these rivers are frozen, but this shows only the map. So that might give a bit of a better image here of what we're working towards. Especially down here, it's really, I do find this to look pretty interesting too. I don't think these guys have the ability to push this back, meaning I think that he's gonna need to get behind the Dnieper before I cross here and try to get some sort of encirclement, which will not succeed, but it would make these guys suffer a lot. So and it would again completely unhinge whatever southern front he has. There are already multiple places like here where the Germans just have straight up nothing, and getting supplies by truck through the blizzard in multiple areas here is just not gonna be a great pleasure, I think. Actually quite pleased just putting these guys under the Cox's frontier on a refit since they're doing so poorly. There's something to say for moving forces like this forward, but they don't have that many combat prep points anyway. If I do get to the Dnieper, I might try to build a new kind of defense, at least on some part of it, in order to solidify that position at least for 1942, making it hard for my opponent to reach any of those objectives. If we look, I'm still going to do some reorganization, but if we look, for example, at victory points, my opponent has not captured, for example, Orel, Kalinin, Kharkov, Stalino, Kursk, and Rostov, which should have been taken by this point. Moreover, there is a non-zero chance that my opponent will not be able to capture Sevastopol. Voronezh, let alone any of the other objectives here, basically. Although Leningrad might technically be in the cards for my opponent. Now, once it gets October, I need to take at least 52 points worth of objectives. And basically, I'm not really sure how it works with these. I think I get the victory points, but currently, because they're just not taken, I'm not really sure how that works, because maybe you do get the points later on. It's a bit difficult here, because how am I going to get this flipped? Basically, for me to get 50 points, I need to take 3 cities. And if we look at victory points, that would be Zaporozhye, Dnipropetrovsk. Although I already took it back, so I'm not going to get those extra points. So that doesn't actually work. Like, it could be Rzhev, but all the objectives that I need to capture are so far from my original objectives. Like, if your opponent captures Kursk, Orel, Voronezh, Rostov, and other points, it's easier to retake those points and actually drive his point score down. Whereas my opponent, supposedly retaking the initiative here is actually going to be a bit more difficult, since indeed Rzhev, Zaporozhye, and Dnipropetrovsk would then be the most decisive factor. If my opponent is not able to push forward, actually, in upcoming year, but we'll see how it is. There we go. Alright, so I'm gonna ship some units over, also these. In actuality, I'm gonna send them over to the center again as well, since I do think that that's where I need extra stuff. There are a few armies around here that could definitely use some extra artillery, I think. They're like these guys, 59th Army. They have absolutely nothing. I'm gonna pump them full of stuff. So I have a lot of units under the staff cabinet. Will take care of it over time. I'm gonna do this reorganizing, and then I'm gonna be right back, shipping the turn back to my opponent. Meet you on the other side. Alright, back, and I've taken care of all the support units, etc., taken a bunch of forces from the far east, again, towards the west again. I also got a bunch of cavalry dropped there, and apparently also a bunch of airborne brigades that cannot move. So, basically, I am pretty much set here for this turn. That's quite how I feel about it. Let's go over the last few of the metrics, and then basically we'll call it a day. This is how things look like here right now. I've sent some forces over to the reserves as well, actually quite a few forces. Yeah, we have losses for this turn. Axis 86,000, us 84,000. Axis 1125 guns, we 834, 231 AFVs from my opponent. For me, it's 356. Looking at the amount of AFVs, or let's just say tanks, that I'm producing, we have, I guess, 169 light tanks being produced every single turn, 170 T-34s, which is also a lot. So I can actually support quite a few of those tank losses. As it is. Certainly being in the ballpark of around 200 to 300 a turn is actually fine for us, as we can actually support that. I'm not quite sure how many tank classes the Germans can support, but I don't think it is as much. But yeah, who knows? Either way, with all of that said and done, yeah, let's just go over these here. Victory points from opponents at 516. Did he actually lose some in an event? Oh, my, jeez, stupid ass frickin' dogs. I'm really not a fan of these very small dogs that keep barking at every little leaf that moves because they're too scared. I mean, it's the fault of humans breeding them, but I don't even know if I read this. I think I did. Yeah, probably. Anyway, he had a shortage of force in Finland, so that does account. Oh, that's the wrong one. Account for the point. Of course, my opponent has initiative. High watermark still 522. Total men, total guns, total AFVs, total aircraft, map men, map guns, map AFVs. We actually went down by a lot too there. Map aircraft. Manpower losses. This is probably going to be a bit higher. Yeah, we'll see. Either way, December sees a serious uptick in losses for my opponent. There's a lot of gun losses here. AFV losses should again be quite high. Aircraft losses, etc. is not important. So looking at resource stores going up for my opponent. Armament pool remains the same for us, actually higher for my opponent too. Manpower remains the same. Alright. There we are, shipping it back. And we'll see. Actually, one last thing. It is so tempting to just start driving the tanks in there. Let's just do it. I see it and I'm like, I just gotta do this. It probably amounts to nothing, but if I get the extra movement here on one of these guys and I actually do get to move forward, cross the river, you know, smash, get more of that rail line, that's the absolute best. So. My opponent does have the rail line from Gomel down here, but that's basically it. Crashing this rail line is the key to success here. So I'm just driving it through. I know my opponents are in a perilous situation, but I think it's worth it. All right. There we go. Can I build more depots? That's actually a pretty good question. Let's already build a depot at Krasnograd, even though I know I don't have supplies there yet. And I'm also gonna already start building a depot at Pologi, even though I also don't have a depot there yet. I didn't advance anywhere else far enough that I feel like I could warrant something like that. No. You can easily just move 1 hex back, and technically this front is fine again, but every hex counts. Every hex counts. Really curious whether my opponent is going to attack here, though. It's a 20. He'd have to do a pretty hefty attack. I'm sure he'll be able to make it, route my units. But the rest of my line is pretty sturdy, so should be okay. Although I do still think my opponent has the most firepower up here. But basically, I really need to whittle him down to make sure that he cannot take any of those big objectives, or at least the 2 of them. Thanks for watching this turn. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. See you then. Bye-bye.